Thanks everybody for attending today. This is actually one of the more exciting webinars that we've put on here at Core Income, and I think the big reason it's so exciting is we're um, working with some advisors that are going to share ideas directly with advisors. So often we hop on these calls and we're sharing ideas that Dan or I or someone here at Core Income comes up with, but Julie and Rebecca have been just a fantastic relationship here at Core, and they shared with us an idea, this legacy footprint idea that they're going into more details on, that we thought was very, very unique, simple, very impactful. So we're really, really excited to have them on here to share how this idea has impacted their practice. It's an idea you can take and implement in your practice, and very thankful to have Julie and Rebecca here to share this with everybody. So thanks, Julie. Rebecca, go ahead.
All right. Thanks, Tim. We are really excited to be with all of you today. When we started talking to CORE about sharing this idea, we started to feel our passion start to grow again. We've been actually developing and sharing this with our clients since 2018. It's funny, it kind of came about because we started to really sense that our clients were a bit disorganized. If you've ever had a client walk into your office with a box of old policies and papers after a loved one's passed away, you also know what that feels like and how much time it takes you to weed through all of that information. So, we decided that we could do something to help that. It was a pain point that didn't need to be painful. So that's really how we became or started to develop Legacy Footprint. It's a way for loved ones to follow the person's steps and hopefully make that transition, whether they're disabled or unable to handle their own matters or they've passed away. We now have the ability to really make it simple for them. So, Rebecca, I want you to kind of share a little bit more about the firm and our history here, but I will start with that and then we'll get into the product.
Sure. We created Legacy Footprint back in 2018, so it's been a work in progress for about 7 years now. When we first started, when we created the system initially, we shared it with just our clients, and we had such positive feedback from that. We started sharing it with others that we knew, colleagues, people in our study group, just other financial advisors that we had relationships with, and it really took off for them as well. So we decided we wanted to share it with everybody because we've had such great feedback from clients and financial advisors alike. So, Julie, I think we can just jump right in and get started.
All right. So, one of the things that I want to do today is really share some stories, some client stories. So, one of my favorite stories of using this product or this system was a family, husband and wife. He passed away. He was the financial manager of the family. He passed away pretty suddenly, and his wife had Alzheimer's. So, of course, she could not manage the finances any longer. And suddenly, her son in law was the power of attorney and had to step in. And dad, thankfully, had painstakingly put his legacy footprint together. And he found this box in dad's office and he opened it up and he was astounded by all of the detail that dad had put into it and how easy it made it for him to just immediately take the next steps in managing the finances for his mother-in-law, who was clearly not able to do it herself. So there were 6 kids in that family, and as a result of that legacy footprint file, we now have all 6 of those kids as clients because, again, it was just a painless way for us to help them get their digital and legal information in order. And it was in a time when they were grieving the loss of their father. They did not have to worry about the financial stuff. It was really taken care of for them. So we want to just dive right in and kind of show you what the legacy footprint file looks like and talk to you a lot about the tools that we have inside of it. So I'm going to bring up that next slide. This is actually a picture. Rebecca, I'll let you explain the difference between the two boxes and we'll go from there.
Sure. So the system itself is hanging file folders and files, and we'll get into that. But the way that we give it to our clients, we have our clients tiered, of course, as you know, segmented, and we use two different options. So we have the plastic file box. It is a hanging file box for the folders. It's designed really to pick up by the handle and very easy to move and mobile. Sometimes we have older clients that want to use that just because the safe is too heavy to pick up and move. Otherwise, we're bringing the safe out to the car and putting it in the car for our clients, which is certainly fine too. But so some just the ease and the mobility of the plastic file box. But what we've done is we have identified different tiers of our client level. And if you have, a certain number of assets with our firm, you get the plastic file box. And once you graduate into our private wealth program, you get the safe. So we provide that to our clients. Some clients say, I have a safe or a file cabinet at home and I don't need a box necessarily. I just want the set of folders. And absolutely, we can provide that to them as well. But I love the safe. It's not going to prevent anybody from stealing your documents, right? You can pick it up and take it with you. It's probably about 40 pounds, but it is fireproof and it does have a key. So it is nice for the clients. That what I like about it not being in the file cabinet is I can tell my kids, if something happens to my husband and I, grab the box that's in the closet, down on the right-hand side, and everything is contained in that one spot rather than, comb through the file cabinet and look for these colored folders. Nope, everything is all contained in one spot. So that's why we like using the boxes specifically.
Yeah. So let's move right in. The first set of folders, it's the yellow section. Everything is color coded. And we kind of did that with some thought put into it, but the yellow section is really the overview section. And you can see we've listed out the folders that are in that section. Of course, a bill pay folder. We're going to talk about that, a bill pay footprint. We'll talk about that in a second. Digital footprint. We found that many of our clients now have a pretty significant digital footprint out there. Things like tax prep software, photos that are stored in the cloud, documents that are stored in the cloud. And if you don't know what those passwords are, you really have no way of removing that digital footprint or even making it secure after a loved one's passed away. Worse yet, you don't have a way to go find pictures if you need them for the funeral, or just memories to grab from the person that's passed. So it's really important, I think, to have a little bit of a handle on what your digital footprint is. The estate footprint is really just all the detail of where you have your accounts, how do you access them, who's your CPA, who's your attorney, what kind of credit cards do you have, and how do you go about shutting those down? How is your home titled, your car titled? So that estate footprint is really kind of a comprehensive guide and a way for you to document all of your assets. And then, of course, emergency and financial contact. We have an example, and I'll let Rebecca go through that, of the bill pay footprint, so you can kind of see what an actual tool looks like.
So this is one of the tools in the overall system. We actually have 16 different documents in the legacy footprint system, and this is the first one. And I always tell my clients, I can sit down with my husband and go through, I pay all the bills. Here's how we pay the bills and what we do. But if it's not something that he engages in regularly, he's not going to listen or remember when or if the time comes where he has to pick it up and take care of it. So it's a great place to kind of brain dump what we pay and how we pay it and the login credentials for it. I think even more so, and one of the reasons that was my passion for creating this particular document, I had a good college friend of mine. Her parents were divorced, her dad was single, and he died in an accident, like a suddenly in an accident. He had worked for the state of Wisconsin and had a Wisconsin pension, so of course that stopped immediately. But all of the things that he had set up automatically deducting out of his checking account didn't stop. And she didn't know what comes next. How do I even know what to stop? No income is coming into this account, but everything keeps trying to come out and to be taken from the account. So to me, this document particularly, I have a reason and a passion behind. Somebody needs to be able to pick this up and say, I can pick up right where the loved one has left off, and I know what I need to do immediately. I don't have to wait and kind of comb through the weeds of figuring out where everything is at.
Yeah, I have a similar story, particularly for this bill pay guide. I had a client whose husband was the financial manager in the house, and he died pretty suddenly, and she had no idea what to do. She came into our office in tears. She had her checkbook and a stack of envelopes with her bills. And she just said, I need you to help me. I don't know what to do. And so we sat down and we helped her kind of catalog what she had for bills and how to pay them. And, really just kind of walked her hand in hand. And I thought, you know what? This does not have to be her story. We should never let this happen to another client again. And so, this particular tool we actually give out to every single new client that comes in our office. And we find that in many cases, one person is the financial manager. I always tell people, fill this out if you're the financial manager, and then give it to the one who's not, and make them do it for a month or two. And if they can't do it without your help, you have more documentation to do. The last thing we want when you're grieving or feeling the pain of loss is that you have to sit there and try to figure out how to manage your finances. So this one is such a critical piece, and we have found most of our clients are really excited about trying to fill it out. Um, the next section, I'll let Rebecca go through that one. Let me bring it up on the screen here.
So the next section we have in the legacy box is debt. This one doesn't have any particular documents that clients fill out. It's simply folders for them to put at least one statement in, especially credit cards. There's so many. I don't know of any of my clients that get a paper statement of their credit card. Most of it's either on an app or they log in online. So if something were to happen to them, how would we even know what credit cards are out there? Again, I tell my clients, print once a year, print a statement so we can see the account number, the company that it's with, the updated balance, and file that in the folder. So it's really, again, just a way to collect everything. So nothing particular in terms of filling out documents on this one, but a good way to keep everything together.
Notice it's red, it's definitely not a fun one. Nobody wants red debt, but it's really fun when clients can actually take that whole section out and say, we don't have debt anymore. But again, credit cards is probably one they're always going to have. The next section is the insurance section. And hopefully with Core's help, your clients have this one full of a folder of policies and documents. But here again, there isn't any particular tool in this section, but it's a really great way for them to keep things in order: life, health, disability, long-term care, home and umbrella, and auto. To me, those are such critical pieces. And if you don't have a place to put them and get access to them in a pretty quick manner, it's definitely a difficult thing to have to go try to find all of that. So we usually tell people, you probably can't keep the whole policy, or if you do, you have to throw the old one out when the renewal comes. But maybe sometimes it's just a matter of keeping the most current statement or report on your life insurance, for example, or on your health insurance, it's the cards, your insurance cards or something. So definitely an important section. Blue is because we care. So we'll go to the green section. I'll let Rebecca take that one.
Yeah, I have a comment on the blue section quick before I move on to the green. One thing, just within the last month, I had somebody that I've talked to about disability insurance several times, and it was always something that they were pretty adamant that they were covered at work, they didn't need it, it was fine. And then when I gave them the box and I go through folder by folder, they see the disability folder in there and they said, well, does anybody ever fill this folder? And I said, absolutely. You know, that's a critical part of your overall financial plan. And we've touched on that, you know, several times. And I think it was a subconscious, like, kind of push for them to say, oh, it's important enough that they have this folder in there, and everybody else in their mind, everybody else is filling this folder and mine's empty. Maybe we do need to take a look at the disability insurance. And so it was a way to open a conversation that I've tried to open several times with this client. And just seeing that folder simply was a door opener for them to say, yes, let's move forward and take a look at, you know, what gaps does my group policy have and what kind of coverage should I be looking at?
Probably the same for long-term care. That folder often is empty too until you bring it up and we talk through it and they get a policy.
Right, right. Okay, so moving on to green. Green is investments. We have a general investment folder. We have a folder for retirement planned information, such as your 401k or 403b, individual Roth and IRAs, and then education accounts. Again, no particular documents to complete or fill out in this section. It's really simply a place to collect a statement. I tell my clients once a year, put the year-end statement in there. Probably need to print it off because most things are accessed online, but print it off and stick it in so that we have documentation and record of where things are at.
Excellent. So that next section is the employee benefit section. I can't tell you how many clients I have that have no idea what kind of benefits they have. They get their benefit packet every year. They have an open enrollment once a year, but they definitely don't have a section where they have things detailed. We also have had clients who have never claimed on their group life policy because they forgot they had one. So this section is orange for work. We'll call it men and women at work. But that benefit footprint is a separate tool that we have in this section, which really allows you to put the highlights of both your retirement plan, maybe even your summary plan description could go in this folder. But it also allows you to document your group benefits. So do I have group life, disability, short and long term? Do I have health insurance? Some companies offer long-term care coverage. And it gives you a way to detail exactly what you have. And then, of course, it needs to be updated on a regular basis. So this also allows you to put your employee handbook in here. That's also something that's often not printed anymore, but it's super helpful if it is, because you have, of course, the ability to access it quickly if you need it. So just a really helpful section. I don't know, Rebecca, do you have anything to add there?
No, I think you covered that one.
All right, we'll let you go with the next one.
Okay, the next section is pretty robust. You can see in the photo how many different folders there are. So this is the legal section. The first is the legal footprint. And one of the things that we have in the legal footprint is a list of who are your powers of attorney, who are your durable and your healthcare powers of attorney, guardianship for kids. Most of our clients that have estate planning done have the big binder, right? So that's not going to fit in here, but it is a one-page snapshot of where everything is at and who is listed, HIPAA authorizations, things like that. So it's just a quick snapshot of what you would find in the big estate planning binder from the attorney. The executor checklist is next. That is not a document to fill out, but it is simply a document for somebody who is going to be an executor of an estate to say, here's what you should be doing in week 1 when somebody passes away. Here's something that you need to be thinking about in month 2, month 3, 6 months out, you know, all the way through filing that final estate tax return. So it is a good checklist with some tips and tricks on what executors should be thinking about, kind of a roadmap for them to follow. Just because they have been listed as the executor, it means that somebody trusts that they can do and, work with an estate, but doesn't mean that they've ever done it before. And if they have, it may have been several years. So it's good to keep giving them additional information. And then, of course, folders for properties, titles, wills and trusts, healthcare directives, marriage or birth certificates, and copies of passports. So, of course, some of these documents aren't going to be the originals. Maybe the originals are kept in a different location, a safe or a safe deposit box or something like that. But at least having copies of everything would be everything that's kept here in the gray legal section.
Oh, I just realized it says, and Dan pointed it out, executioner's checklist. That's not what we meant.
Nope, we will. The folder
Executive-
itself is labeled correctly, just the slide has the typo.
Good, good catch there, Dan. We will be sure not to execute any of our clients, I promise. All right, good catch. All right, the next section is really what we call legacy. And this one definitely has, some really great tools in it. Sometimes tools that people don't want to talk about, but the newest tool we just created is the care plan footprint, which is really allowing our clients to document exactly how they want to be cared for if they ever need nursing care. It's a 4-page checklist, really just to give them some thought-provoking things to ponder and to document so that their kids know how they want to be cared for. If mom or dad had a stroke and wouldn't be able to communicate, I certainly would want my kids to know exactly how I want to be cared for. And I think our clients appreciate that too. Again, not necessarily something they like to think about or write down, but if that day came that they needed care, we know exactly, the kids will know exactly how they want to be cared for. So that's a really great tool. We just sent that actually out to all of our clients who have the legacy footprint file already and asked them to fill it out and put it in their folder in their box. And it's been well received by our clients. Hand in hand with that is the final footprint. That's really documenting how you want your funeral to go, exactly what you would like for your final wishes, that kind of thing. And I think that again is not necessarily something people like to think about, but the kids are so appreciative to know that mom and dad had put some thought into it. And then when they're grieving, they don't have to wonder or argue with their siblings about how mom and dad wanted their funeral to look. The final section in this legacy section is the legacy letters. We just have a descriptive sort of a note in there of how, if you chose, you could write a legacy letter to anyone in your life, whether that's kids, grandkids, friends, siblings, loved ones. And it's really just a nice way for clients to leave a final message to their family and loved ones. And so there's a section in there that describes how to write a legacy letter. And then, of course, you can put those letters in there in sealed envelopes. So when you do pass, your kids can find them. So just a really great section, I think, to just put some emphasis on your client's wishes instead of just having the kids guess.
Julie, one of the things that I just had a client the other day who filled out their care plan footprint. She is in her 80s and she probably should have had a rotator cuff surgery years ago and has decided because of her age she's not going to do it. So she put in her care plan, make sure that I am not on my right side when I'm laying in bed. And she shared that with me and I said, well, that's an interesting thing. I haven't had anybody put that in there before. And she said, I can't sleep on my right side because my shoulder is so sore, but nobody's going to know that but me. So if I can't move myself, I want to make sure somebody knows that I can't lay on that side. And so something as to us, probably a little detail, she put in that care plan footprint, but to her, she's been worried about how am I going to be comfortable if I'm in a situation where I need somebody to maybe be moving me around. So I thought that was really interesting. That was something that I had not expected to come out of somebody filling out that care plan. And then the other thing is, like you mentioned before, starting to fill out that care plan, that has opened so many conversations for long-term care insurance. And we have been working so much with so much more long-term care insurance than, not that we haven't always discussed it before, but when they start working through filling out that document, it brings it to light a little bit more of, I would really like to have the option of staying home. How do I get to stay home instead of having to go to a facility? Mm, Well, paying with an insurance policy would be a great way, but to at least be able to fund it, whether care provides that or not, or allows for that to happen. At least you have the funds to do it if possible.
Yeah, totally agree. I actually had a client tell me they have a favorite pillow. And I thought, well, that's probably something most people would not know. Make sure you write it down so they take that favorite pillow with you to the home if you ever end up there. So it's crazy the final or the requests people have. And now our clients are starting to feel good about having a place to document it. So, Rebecca, I'm going to let you take this one.
Yeah, I just wanted to say quick before we kind of wrap up with this. A lot of people have asked, well, why do you do this? Other financial advisors that we've talked to, why do you do this for your clients? Or, it is a significant amount of cost to be able to put it together, and time and energy and effort, and, certainly years of research into the documents that we've created. And to me, it is all about providing a value add to our clients. It's one way that we can show our clients we're not here just to make a sale or earn revenue off of you. We really want you and your family to be in a better situation for having worked with us. And so we want to make sure that we are providing the tools to our clients to make life just a little bit easier for them and then for their kids as well. So that's our passion and our why behind it. As a recap, there's 7 different colored sections of the folder. There's 37 different file folders with 10 different documents in there right now with that newest one that we just added, the care plan. So it's pretty robust, different everything combined in the system. But we do have a website that you can order one system off individually. It is thelegacyfootprint.com. You can take a look at the things that we talked about today. You can order individual sets off of there that would all be Legacy Footprint branded. And if you use Core 10, there will be a 10% discount for being on the webinar today and for having the relationship with Core. So we're excited to be able to provide that. The other thing that we do is we provide the option to branding the system to yourself, because again, we believe that so when we give the system to our clients, it is not a Legacy Footprint brand. It is branded with Financial Clarity by Design. Everywhere that you've seen in the photos, the Legacy Footprint sticker or logo, that's all our Financial Clarity by Design logo when we give it to our clients. The system that we kind of went through today is more on the consumer side, if just an individual consumer wants to buy it out on the internet. We can brand it to your business and your firm, so we can use your color scheme and your logo. We have a broker dealer, and we have our broker dealer disclosure on it. I think right now we have 4 or 5 different broker dealers that have already approved all of the pieces. So if you belong to one of the broker dealers we already have, we can give you a reference to say, let's say it's with our broker dealer, you can say has already been approved under Rebecca Gonzalez, and it would, make it much easier to get everything through compliance. But we can provide proof documents for compliance submission before you order a supply of them. You'll know that they're compliance approved and ready to go. So happy to work with you on branding it to your firm and your colors so that you have the same results that we're having with building and solidifying those client relationships and making them stronger.
Yeah, I always tell other advisors, like, if one of our clients passes away, our name is all over that box. So the kids will absolutely know who to call. And that's really what we want. We want to maintain those assets. We want to make it easy for them so that they in turn will become clients of ours as well. And we maintain the assets in-house. So um, we are at our time, and I appreciate everybody giving us some time today. I don't know, Tim, are you popping back on, or are we just closing it out today? I think we might be just closing it out, but thank you everyone for taking some time to be with us today, letting us share our idea. We hope that you think it would be valuable to share with your clients. And again, just let us know if we can help in any way.
Thank you.